आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने हमें जो गहरी बातें इतनी आसान शब्दों में समझाई, शायद ही कोई और समझा पाता। हमें भारत को ऊंचाई पर ले जाने के लिए आप जैसे व्यक्तियों के विचारों की बहुत जरूरत है। थैंक यू सो मच सर।
Mr. Yusuf Unjhawala is a businessman by profession. Sir is the editor of Defense Forum India, which is the country's biggest online forum discussing defense and geopolitics, with over 15,000 registered members. His tweets extensively on his handle Yusuf DFL. I would like to request Mr. Unjhawala to address the audience on Make in India and defense sector. Please, sir.
मेरा मन कर रहा है कि हिंदी में बोलूं, बट हिंदी तो ठीक ठाक बोल लेता हूँ, बट ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारा इंग्लिश के साथ जुड़ेगा तो मैं इंग्लिश से ही संबोधन करूँगा। First of all, I like to thank the management over here for inviting me to speak in front of all you people. Professor Kulkarni काफी अच्छा बोल चुके हैं मेरे बारे में। I would like to start by asking, how many over here think India is a great country? Right? Everyone thinks India is a great country. Or the theme of this conference is taking India to greater heights. So already the presumption is that we are a great country, and obviously it's a fact. We have a lot to be proud about from our independence till now. We may have progressed very slowly, but yes, there are achievements. Mr. Imran over here is a manifestation of that. He has got the opportunity. He has done something about that. So we have a lot to be proud about. So what makes a country great? Obviously, there's not one thing which makes a country great. there are various things. There are a lot of things that go into making a country great. So the most common thing that you will find is economic might and military might, and it's a fact. I mean, all great countries, if you see across the globe, are all very powerful economies and very powerful militaries. The other thing that people will talk about are the social aspects. What about our hungry people? Are they getting 3 meals a day or even 2 meals a day? I mean, India is a poor country, so are everyone getting 2 meals a day? Is everyone getting access to quality healthcare, quality education? So these are the other aspects. So to make a country great, it's just not one thing. There are a lot. Science and technology. We have progressed pretty well. We are a spacefaring nation, one of the few who has gone to Mars. We are a nuclear power. We not only we have nuclear weapons, but today we are progressing rapidly in terms of nuclear power generation. India is going to be the largest nuclear power generator in the world. We just yesterday we signed a memorandum with the French to build the largest nuclear power plant in the world in Jaitapur. Art and culture. This is obviously one of the biggest examples that I can give of what we remember the Gupta Empire, because it was rich in its art and culture, although it was a big military power, but it is known for its art and culture. Happiness index, right? How happy are the people of the country? That is also a great example, a great proof of how great a country is. Freedom of all kind. Obviously, a lot of the what do I say? Debate is there on what freedom is in the country. All intolerance debate and all. But India is a free country. You can say whatever you want. Those who say that India is not a free country and there is a lot of intolerance are actually exercising their right to free speech to say that, and they do it without any problems. Soft power. The lady who introduced earlier talked about World Yoga Day, right? People, yeah, it's part of soft power projection. That's how you become a great power, be recognized as a great power. sphere of influence. How are you able to influence other countries, other small, big, doesn't matter. But how are you able to influence other countries, and are you able to influence world opinion? Today we are influenced by certain bigger powers in the decisions that we take. So are we able to do the same with other countries? Now, in my opinion, while a lot of other factors as listed over here go into making a great country, in my opinion, it's economic power uh, which is uh, which is what will drive this country to a greater heights. We're already a great country, but we want to take it to greater heights. And the economy, you cannot realize the full potential of your economy if your country is not safe. So military power goes hand in hand with economic power. So economics will take care of all your social aspects to talk about. If your economy is growing, you will have the money to feed the hungry mouths, to make your hospitals, to make the education institutes, and provide good life for all the citizens. So how will you do that? Without a strong defense, it will be very difficult to provide the security and the necessary environment to progress. I'll give China as an example, which over the last 20 years has progressed dramatically. And I'm not going to talk about what happens in the society and the kind of freedom they have or they don't have. But the fact is that China in the last 20 years has progressed dramatically. It has pulled a lot of people out of poverty. It has world-class infrastructure, and this is come together with its very strong military power, where it's able to influence a lot of things. So I'm here to speak about the defense sector and making India great. And I would like to start by talking about great powers. All great powers, if we go down even 1,000 years back, or even 2,000 years back, you go back to the Maurya empires or even the Gupta empires, they were very strong military powers, and that allowed them to pursue the economic and all the other aspects of society, the social aspects, the art and culture. paths were driven by very strong economies, and the strong economies were developed because of the strong military part. Coming down right to this timeline that we see, the Industrial Revolution allowed Britain, France, and the other European powers to develop modern weapons. They were able to move across the world, far and wide, and colonize the rest of the world. So, what was the agenda behind it? Economics. They wanted to find raw material to serve feed the factories, and then they wanted markets for the finished goods. So economics was the driver to develop a military industrial complex which allowed them to dominate the entire world. If we come to the 20th century, the United States, Imperial Japan, Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, all of them prospered. I mean, they became great powers because they made their own weapons, because they created a very strong military force which nobody could compete with. And all these countries did the manufacturing inside their own countries. They innovated inside their own countries. Japan did not have to buy aircraft carriers from somewhere else. It made their own aircraft carriers. Germany made its own submarines, which was really feared. So, we talk about great powers. What defines a great power? What is a great power? So, a great power is a sovereign state that is recognized as having the ability and expertise to exert its influence on a global scale. Great powers characteristically possess military and economic strength, as well as diplomatic and soft power influence, which may cause middle or small powers to consider the great powers of opinion before taking actions of their own. So let me ask this question: where does India stand? Are we a great power? India is known as a middle or an emerging power. We have been a great power in the making for the last many years. That's our own doing. It will take a lot, and that's why we are here, to see how we can discuss ideas of making India a great power. Now, great powers were often, like I said, uh, dictated by the economies, and India is doing well as far as the economy goes. But before that, I would like to talk about what the former U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice had to say uh, for India. They said, "We have decided to make India a global power. While their motives may be serving themselves, but it doesn't harm India in aligning with current great powers uh, to realize its own potential, its own goals of being a great power in itself." So, what is holding us back? Why aren't we dominating even our region? One of the first things that we chose to be a non-aligned country. We didn't want to align with any of the superpowers during the Cold War. The second thing is we did not realize our own potential. We still don't realize our own potential. We don't realize the expectations other smaller and middle powers have of India. I mean, there is tremendous respect for India, but we are just a reluctant power. We just don't want to uh, ex- clearly express ourselves. And the other thing is idealism. We are a very idealistic nation. We are not uh, like how the Western powers are. We are not what do you call focused, and we are not ruthless. Where we are, like I said, reluctant power. The Western world will do anything to pursue its national interests, no matter what. I mean, the colonial powers came 10,000 kilometers away to colonize us, take over our country so that they could develop. That is brute force. I mean, the world behaves a little differently, but the rules of the game have not changed. It's all the same. You require economic and military might to sustain yourself. So, I will go with there are two parts, like I said, for about what a great power is. One which is an economic might, and one which is a military power. Let's examine the two aspects of it. First, the Indian economy. India is the seventh largest economy in the world now, in terms of current prices, as you see, we are at number 7, 2.1, but latest figure says 2.4 trillion US dollar economy. We are the third largest economy in terms of purchasing power. At the current growth rate, by the year 2025-26, so maybe depends on how the growth fluctuates, but certainly before the year 2030, we will be the third largest economy in the world after China, US, in terms of the real the current prices terms, or normal terms as it's called. We are heard across the world as far as economics goes. Our opinion is necessary. We need to be aligned with the world powers, or whatever our interests are. We are able to project it, and the example is the WTO, where we have been very forceful to protect our national interests. Climate talks cannot move without India's opinion. We have to be on board to do anything about the climate talks. We are there as on various multinational forums like the G20, BRICS. This is all pursuing economic agenda. So we are there as far as the Indian economy goes. But coming to the military part, how many over here think India is a great military power? Very few think, and obviously people are not sure if we are a great military power. We are a strong military power, yes, but we are not a great military power yet. Partly it's because of lack of capability. We are not a power which can go to the Atlantic Ocean, bomb a country and come back. No, we can't. We can't even go to the South China Sea. Right? So, lack of capabilities, and why these lack of capabilities is we will discuss. We are building up. It's not that we are not doing it, but we are going at a very slow pace. The reason can be because we are, like I said, an idealistic country. We are not too aggressive about pursuing a military. It's changing, yes, but we're still, it's not rapid. We spend very little on defense, very less. And most of the times, when you ask why should we spend more on defense, if someone tells you we need to spend a little more on defense, the answer is that India is a poor country, and we have other priorities to take care of than defense. I would like to refer to this and give an answer. In the 17th century, India was controlling 25% of the world GDP. We were a very rich country. But we did not have a robust or a strong, innovative military industrial complex at that time. A small little country, 10,000 kilometers away, developed those military capabilities, came down over here, colonized us, and by the time they left, our economy was only 2.5% of the world. Right? So a strong military is required so that your economy can grow and you can protect that growth, protect your country so that people can prosper. So if you say that you need to spend less on defense and give money elsewhere, well, we got the priorities wrong. Everything has a priority, yes, but you cannot neglect Indian defense. And if you see this figure over here, share of Indian defense budget in the GDP is about 1.75%. This is the overall GDP, overall figure, and which translates to last year's spending of 2,46,000 crores. And in that 2,46,000 crores, we spend about 77,000 crores on defense acquisitions. In that, about 7 or 8,000 was returned back to the government as unspent money. That is because the Indian defense acquisition moves at a snail's pace. We are not able to utilize the entire funds. Compared to other countries, the United States is right there. 3.8% of its GDP is dedicated to defense. China is very, very opaque. You can't predict what they are doing, but they are spending over $200 billion or 2.5% of its GDP on defense. India is spending 1.75. We need to be at least 3% to fund a rapid modernization program. In terms of per capita, the United States spends $1,850 per person on defense. China is spending about 250. The world average is $216 per person. India is spending, any guess? $35. And this, while we face a two-front war, which is a very real threat. Every other day we get commanders of the army, the army chief or the naval chief, the air chief say we are not prepared for a two-front war. It's a very real threat. The Chinese and the Pakistanis together can attack us, and it's a very real threat. The Chinese army is already there in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. They have also stationed missiles over there. So it's a very real threat. So I'm going to talk about Make in India and why it is a very vital cog in making India a great part. There are many aspects, like I said, to the defense sector, but I'm going to talk about making in India and how making weapons in India will help India become a great power. So why should you make weapons in India? The first point is our own weapon system suited for our own country, for our country. I'll quickly run through it and then we'll discuss this in a little detail. It creates an ecosystem along with civil industrial setup that feeds one another. It adds to the economy. Spin-offs in the civil sector, and it's a major tool in shaping geopolitics in the region and around the world. So, why should you make our own weapons? The very first point. It's designed to suit our requirement. The armed forces has a certain requirement, but right now, whatever Russia makes or whatever France makes or the US or anyone makes, and then there is an export version. So they water down the capabilities, and that is what we have to make do with. So if you make your own weapons, you are free to design the weapons of your choice that suits your terrain, your environment, your climatic conditions, also your strategic objectives. It also helps you in strategic planning. Your plan out on how you go about pursuing your strategic objectives. Couple of examples that I'll give is a helicopter. The Indian Army operates helicopters at over 20,000 feet minus 50 degrees in Siachen. The Indian Army also operates helicopters at plus 50 degrees in the deserts of Rajasthan. And the helicopters are also operated offshore naval platforms. So India is a very big country. The terrain varies, but we cannot have a weapon for each terrain. We need a system that works everywhere. And we are successful. I'll just quickly go over here. By India for India. This is the advanced light. This is the light combat helicopter, which is nearing full operational clearance very soon. This in Siachen, and this is from the Life Fist exercise, which is going on, war which is concluded in the deserts of Rajasthan. So, in the heights of Siachen, in the deserts of Rajasthan. Second example that I would like to give is the assault rifle. India wanted to replace its assault rifles, the Indus that we make in India, because they were not good enough for the army. So they got a global tender and invited global manufacturers of assault rifles to participate, and it set out a qualitative requirement. Everyone failed. None of the foreign participants of the tender could come and showcase and meet the qualitative requirements of Indian Army. The Indian Army went back to the DRDO and the OFB to make a rifle which will work in Siachen, in the desert, or in the water. And it is very happy with what has come up, which is called the Excalibur rifle. It's going to come out very soon. So what else does making your own weapon help in? We get freedom from technology denials. Now, technology denials are of two kinds: components and entire weapon system. When I say components, nobody parts with metallurgy. I mean, we did not have warship grade steel to make our warships. We used to import them. Russia was obviously very happy to provide that, but it didn't give us the technology for it. Right. So that is just one part, components. And when I talk about weapon system, no country sells nuclear powered ballistic missile submarines. We have to make it ourselves, and we did. Nobody is going to sell you ballistic missiles or nuclear weapons. Well, that's another matter that China does, but it's a rogue country. So China does it because it is a big power and nobody can question it. Sanctions is the next thing. In 1998, when we exploded our nuclear weapons, when we tested them, the United States imposed sanctions, and it hit one of our most important programs, which is the LCA. If we had our own technology base, if we could make everything ourselves, those sanctions would have not hit us. Arms embargo is another thing. During the 1965 war, the United States embargoed both India and Pakistan. So at a crucial juncture, we did not have weapons, we did not have ammunition. The next point is high purchase cost. The Rafael deal is an example which has gone from being a $10 billion deal for 126 fighter jets to about 36 for roughly the same price. So if you don't make your own weapons, you are at the mercy of foreign suppliers, and they are going to dictate the price, and a lot of money is going to go out of the country. And the last point is dependency on supply for spares and maintenance. In the Kargil war, we saw that with the Bofors gun. We did not have the spares. We did not have ammunition. We had to get it from Israel. They supplied us the weapon, but at 3 times the price. So if you don't make your weapons, you are going to be at the mercy of others. This is the INS Aryan. It has cleared the sea trials. It is ready for induction. So once the politicians find some time, they will be able to induct it. Yeah, obviously in India you need to cut the ribbon, right? And that is done always by the politicians. This is another shining example of Indian success, the Agni 5 missile. No country is going to sell you an ICBM. We have got this. So it's not that we have never made any weapons. We have been making weapons, just that we don't make everything in India. 70% of our weapons comes from foreign companies. Like I said, we have been making weapons. We have ordnance factory boards. We have various defense public sector enterprises. I mean, Bangalore itself has many, like the HAL, which is making the LCA, BML, and so on and so forth. But what has been happening is that we have been importing a lot. So whatever weapons we are making or whatever weapons platforms you're making, it comes in terms of an import from a foreign country, and then we ask for the technology transfer, and then what happens is that components come to India, and then you take a screwdriver and join it together. That's what we have been doing. So what has that led to? Very low indigenization. Our indigenous content and even the current weapon system, which we call it as indigenous and made in India, the indigenous content is very low. Very low research and development, which means very low innovation. And because we are importing all the assemblies, sometimes we are stuck at the supplier end, and then we are not even able to absorb the technology, which leads to costs and time overruns. The Scorpion deal is 4 or 5 years behind schedule. It's a very critical component or critical part of our operational readiness. The submarines, we lost one in the accident. We are down to about 13, and one INS and then the Akula class which you've got. So a very critical component of or part of our armed forces is missing because of delays, and this has to change. And so what is required? We need to design and develop weapons in India, and for that you require a very strong civil industrial setup. I mean, make in India in defense sector will not be a success without a make in India in the civil sector. So the PM's vision of making everything in India, be it a pin or an aeroplane, has to succeed, so that it not only creates a robust civil industrial sector which creates a lot of jobs, but also assists in the defense program. So once you do that, all the components will be manufactured in India. You don't have to wait for foreigners to supply to us. The integration happens over here. We provide proper testing facilities to this, and then what will happen is that we will be in a position to develop weapons for the future. This is very important. We are 2 generations behind the Western powers. The light combat aircraft is a 4th generation aircraft, and we are yet to induct it. And the US and the Russians are already working on the 6th generation fighter program. Even the Chinese have a 5th generation fighter program. So we are at least a generation behind even the Chinese. Not in every field, but yes, we are. Because we don't have a very, very strong civil industrial setup that could absorb a lot of the technologies that came from abroad. What has the TOT done for India? All the transfer of technologies that have happened over the last 50 years. Why are we still lagging behind making crucial engines for our fighter jets? Why do we still have to import engines for our warships? Despite getting all the time transfer of technology, because I can give you an iPhone, but if you don't know what a chip means, how to make a chip, you will not be able to do anything about it. So it's just as simple as that. You require the civil, a robust civil industrial setup. So, like I said, the PM's vision of making everything in India is really required to make India great. It will create jobs. I mean, we are a very young nation. 1 million people every month need a job. So, the new defense procurement policy, which the government has come up with, is putting emphasis on indigenous design. It wants to reduce the import content, and it is very clear that it will give preference to weapon systems which are designed, developed, and manufactured in India. Designed, developed, and manufactured in India. So if your design is abroad and you want to do screwdriving in India, it's not going to work. You will have to prove that this design is original. You have designed it, you have developed it, and you have manufactured in India. So it's going to get preference. We are a while away from there, but at least the policy guidance is right. So I just spoke about requiring a strong civil sector to make an Indian defense a success. So, civil and industrial setup is interlinked. That's a no-brainer. I mean, you cannot have a good military industrial complex without having a good civil industrial complex. I've already said that. There are two reasons for it. The defense industry can actually drive the civil sector. And secondly, if you have a good civil industrial sector, you will be able to develop dual use technologies which are denied to you. So all the subcomponents, all the critical systems can be created or innovated with a robust civil industrial sector, and we will be able to develop the depth that is required. to the China example. They were able to reverse engineer every weapon they bought from Russia. And now they are going a step ahead of Russia. The Russians are still struggling with the fifth generation fighter aircraft. The Chinese are marching ahead. They have two different sets of fifth generation fighter aircrafts, and they are making their own aircraft carriers now, and they have a very advanced ballistic missile submarine program. So it's due to its very strong civil sector, which it has developed in the last 20 years. So making weapons in India will create an entire ecosystem of manufacturing. I'm going to give one example. The automobile industry in India, it contributes 8% to the GDP. Just the automobile sector contributes 8% to the GDP, and it has managed to create a whole ancillary setup. Now, this ancillary unit is allowed to create a good engineering background, a good technology base. This has allowed a company like Tata to make a car for about 1 lakh rupees. This wouldn't have been possible if they didn't understand what technology was. It didn't have good engineering base to develop such a car. So what has that led? That we are also the one of the largest exporters of automobile and auto components in the world. Apply this to the defense sector. A defense sector is much larger than the automobile sector. The automobile sector contributes to the defense sector. We have companies like Tata, Mahindra, Ashok Leyland supply vehicles to the armed forces. So imagine you require weapons for the land, air, and sea. The kind of industrial base it can create. So the next part is dual use technologies. A supercomputer is an example I would like to choose. We were denied the supercomputers which are used to make accurate weather forecasts. The reason being that the same supercomputer can be used to develop new nuclear weapons, to test the efficacy of your current warheads, to create new ones which are smaller but create a bigger bang. So obviously the Western powers didn't want to give us supercomputers. The ordnance factory board over here in India employs 150,000 people. So that's a kind of employment it can generate. I'm not talking of the other PSUs like HAL, etc. Over the next 10 years, we are going to spend $250 billion on weapons acquisition. That is 17 lakh crores. And like I said, 70% of our weapon system currently are imported. We'll end up sending out over $175 billion outside, feed their factories, their mouths, end up paying a very high price and gain nothing in return. So we make our weapons, we will add to our economy. By the year 2025, at just 2% of GDP, our defense budget will be over $100 billion. We don't want to send all this money outside. We add jobs over there, millions of jobs. We require jobs. I mean, the Prime Minister talks of Skill India and our large demographic dividend. If we don't give them jobs, we will be in trouble. So the defense sector, because of its vastness, can create millions of jobs. And then we earn foreign exchange out of it. Just like how the Western powers and other powers do. So the next point I'd like to talk about is spin-offs in the civil sector. And the first example that when I was making the slide that came to my mind is a microwave oven. You cannot imagine your kitchen without a microwave oven, right? It came from a Department of Defense project in the US when one gentleman called Percy Spencer, while working on a radar project, found that the popcorn popped. The popcorn kernel popped while working on the radar project. And he further researched as to what happened, why did this happen, and he came to a conclusion that the electromagnetic waves from the radar made this happen. So the Raytheon, where he was working at, they patented the technology. In the next 20 years, they came up with a tabletop microwave oven. The radar itself, which he was working on, was again, like I said, a Department of Defense project to detect enemy fighters, enemy bombers. And can you imagine life without a radar, without air traffic control and civil and no civil aviation. The speed at which we travel has enhanced the economy. It has made a great change in the way people travel and the way business is conducted. Jet engines is another example. Again, developed during the World War for defense purpose, but its impact has been tremendous on civilian life. Airline industry, the whole industry of airlines, of making aircrafts, and the civil industrial what do you call airline industry. Well, some of them go bust and run away to London. That's another matter. So all these great powers invented all these. There are a whole lot of lists. I mean, internet is also a department of a defense project. And can you imagine life without internet today? How much it has added to the economies of the world, how business is done. So, if India has to be counted among those great countries or great powers, we will have to produce such technologies, such equipments like the radar. I mean, it was developed 80 years ago, but something which impacts people's lives on a very massive scale. And the Western powers are able to dominate because they have developed these technologies and are able to control and innovate further. So we need to get there, and having a good defense sector will allow us to do that. And last but not the least is the influence of weapons on geopolitics. Now it's a no-brainer. Everybody knows how the Western world and others influence other countries by the weapons sale. Supply both the sides, supply one side, create proxies. So if you have your own weapons, first of all, you will be able to aid your friends, secure your friends and allies, influence other governments, keep your rivals out of your area of interest, and supply other nations who have adversarial relations with our principal rival, and to keep them off balance. So the example is China, which is trying to keep us off balance for the last so many years. It gave nuclear weapons to Pakistan. Not that I would like to advise the idea of proliferating nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles, but that is what they have done. China today is the third largest exporter of weapons in the world, and 68% of it comes to our neighborhood: Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar. Today, China is surrounded by very small powers which are afraid of China, and we can't do anything about it because don't make our own weapons. Example is Afghanistan. The former president Hamid Karzai kept coming to India with the list of items that he wanted, and India refused. That's for some other reason, but while we were talking about giving them weapons, it was going to be in a manner that we were going to pay the Russians for their weapons and then send it to Afghanistan. Can you imagine that? And we did that finally. Just recently, we supplied 3 Mi-35 helicopters to Afghanistan, and Mi-35 is Russian made. One more is on the way. You don't make your own weapons. How are you going to help your friends? How are you going to step up when they require it? And China is doing that. Afghanistan is something we claim as our extended. It's not an extended region. It is our neighborhood. But now we are seeing the Chinese make great inroads into Afghanistan because it is going to supply weapons to them. And the Chinese are playing the great power game. It is also talking to the Taliban. So, in my opinion, it is imperative for India to supply weapons to its friends and allies, and nations that are threatened by large powers or other powers. And these small nations look up to us. The Southeast Asian countries look up to India to be a net security provider. They have said it. We want India to help us, to secure us. We are not there yet. We are, like I said, we are a reluctant power. It is changing. We are taking baby steps toward it. We are conducting regular exercises with these countries. But if we don't have our own weapons making capabilities, how are we going to help them? It is changing, like I said. We are showcasing our equipment abroad. The LCA recently flew at the Bahrain Air Show. It has got good reviews. Our tactical missile system like the Aakash surface-to-air missile has got good inquiries. The BrahMos missile also is sought after. Vietnam is a country that we see a potential part, and it is a country which is threatened by China. So if we don't do this, if we are not able to make our own weapons and supply it to such people who countries who need it, they will look elsewhere, and then this will result directly in losing influence with these countries, both diplomatically, economically, geopolitically. I'll give as an example is Sri Lanka. They wanted weapons. We refused for political reasons at home. China and Pakistan stepped in. Today, China has more influence on Sri Lanka than we. We would like to think it's otherwise, but if you see the statements coming out from Sri Lanka, just because it has a big power backing it now, it can look into us in the eye. Similarly, for a small country like Maldives, which threw one of our projects out, the GMR, the airport project, it went to the Chinese company. So we are going to lose influence if we are not a great power. I will just conclude by saying that as far as economics goes, as the two definitions of two part of a great power, which is economic and military power. As far as economics goes, we are on track. We're not a great economic power, but we are on track. We have a very strong growth. We are the fastest growing major economy in the world. By the year 2030, like I said, we will be the third largest economy. But as far as military might goes, military power goes, we have a lot to do, and the current government's vigorous focus on making India overall and making India in the defense sector will go a long way in addressing this. In my estimation, that if this is successful in the next 15 years, say by year 2030, we will start to see the results of what has been done. Right? It's like it's a tree. We just planted the seed. It's going to grow up, and by the year 2030, we will be in a position to exert our influence across the ocean. Well, I'll conclude with that. Thank the management once again for inviting me. All right. Jai Hind. There is a saying which says, if you want peace, you have to understand war. I gave you an example in my speech when I said that when we were looking at when we are a very peaceful country, we still a very peaceful country, but where we did not have any ambitions, we thought we shouldn't have you know, I'm talking about before the British came. We didn't develop, we didn't make those guns, which, and you know, those steamships that the British came in with. What happened? I got your question. Now I'll answer it in this way. First of all, does China have any noble intentions? What is it doing in POK? Serving its own interest because it sees a rival in India. India is very good at people to people contact. That's why the Afghanistans in numerous polls have voted India as their most friendly country. We have great people to people contact. We are good at it. We have great people to people contact in countries of Africa. But security, like I said, without security, you can't pursue other goals. If you don't have a stable environment, if you are not secure, your first priority is security. I mean, even you as an individual, if you don't feel secure, if you don't feel safe in your own confinement, will you be thinking of anything else? Can you think of anything else? So these smaller countries are threatened by other powers. None of these countries in the South China Sea are secure today. They feel threatened. Right? China is very ambitious. It's very expansionist. And coming to the technology part, where and making railways, one, the intention is obviously not very noble. It's not doing any favor. That's number one. Number two, China has developed a massive technology base. Like I said, we have to be a great economic, we have to innovate. only if we do that, we'll be able to compete with the Chinese. The Chinese are making the railways, they're making it at at high altitude because they have developed those technologies. Right? It's a very important thing.
Now, if you look at the international arms regimes, when you talk about the various clubs you have, CNTCR, FMCD, the Arsenal Club, or Nuclear Suppliers Group, etc. Now, how do you think the success of Make in India, with reference to specifically defense sector, would help in India achieving those goals, being a part of it? For a long time, we have been obstructionists. We could not be a part of it. We said, no, we don't like it. Let's say in the case of CTBT or so many other cases, NPT, etc. Now, when you want to actually make a part of it, we want to be a part of the solution or part of the global club. How do you think this Make in India would help achieve that?
Isn't it already happening? We are already in the process of getting into MTCR. It was blocked by Italy for political reasons because of the marine issue. Coming to NPT, why was the NPT formed? It was right after we exploded our bombs. They wanted to stop us. It was just around that time, 1970s. So just before we exploded. So many of these regimes were to stop others. Now you have it. The US realized that India is a nuclear weapons power. We can't do anything about it. It's in our own self-interest now to get it into our own club. So if you make in India, you make those weapons, you make those missiles, they're going to get you into their club. think I'll answer that because I think I've already answered sir's question during my presentation. Uh, Everything has a priority. Our defense budget is one of the least in the world. With 3.8% of United States, which is already very powerful, already has everything. It's 3.8%. China is over 2.5%, 3%. We don't know how much they're spending, first of all. So, because of these factors that we want to spend more on others, other social aspects, we have been actually neglecting our defense. Be part of what makes you a great country. How will you pursue your economic agenda if you're not safe? I gave the example. We didn't spend on defense. The Brits came over here, occupied us. You require your security. It's not that it doesn't have everything has a place. Our education budget is more than our defense budget, right? So what was the question, Matt? Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'll just tell you, a lot of countries Prime Minister wanted to disband the Indian Army.
Yes. That was the truth.
Actually, I'll just come back to Sir's point where he said we have hungry mouths to feed. We want to provide jobs. I addressed that part when I said that $250 billion will be spent on imports anyway. $250 billion will go outside. If we don't make in India, if you make in India, you're going to provide millions and millions of jobs. I mean, like I said, it is going to add to the economy. The defense, making in India and defense is not exclusive of anything else. It's going to add to a country. Which, in my estimate, we can add about 2% to the GDP just by making weapons in India. Creating jobs to save our people. Taking India to greater heights. That is the theme of your right, and how making yes making in India in the defense sector, or make larger making India project, and how that is vital to take India to greater heights. As they say, attack is the best form of defense. It is important, like, and I covered that when I said Bollywood is part of projecting soft power. How you influence other by your own culture. So when we do it, we influence other power. Right? When this is what the PM has been doing. He has been very smartly projecting soft power. We are all part of it. We are all part of it. We are all part of it. We are all part of it, sir. Of course. It's happening. It is happening. Like sir said, social media is one platform which help get that. The software projection comes from there as well. No, he can defend himself. So, a person with a strong defense will be able to protect his environment where they can peacefully pursue all the economic agenda that they want. To make roads, to make schools, to make hospitals. It's not. We are spending only 1.75% of our GDP. Very low. Very, uh, very difficult. Probably it's very low. I cannot put a number to it because I don't have the data. It is. So, like I said, if, if no, I think there might be some data out there, but I don't have the data handy. But like you said, we are spending very little on defense itself, right? Sir doesn't want even that. So how will the money for research and development come? We are spending only 77,000 of the entire 2,46,000 that is spent on defense, right? It's a very small percentage, not just like, but very small percentage of what actually is spent on defense is going into defense acquisition, and very low in that is going into research and development. So this whole make in India, getting the private sector in is to push innovation, to push R&D, That's the reason why the new policy says that we want to induct weapons which are designed, developed, and manufactured in India, and we'll do it cheap. The purchasing part, the parity that I talked about, we are the third largest economy in terms of purchasing power. It will be useless if you import weapons. You require weapons anyway. Might as well make it in India and add to your economy. Create jobs. You'll be able to do it cheaper. The LCA, we can make it for about $30 million. The same thing which a Swedish company is trying to push down our throat is 100 million. The Indian Navy recently came up with its latest maritime doctrine. It's very clear about it. It's going to secure our citizens. It is going to project power, and it is making strides in acquiring the weapons platforms. And this is happening made in India. The Indian Navy is the biggest example of what indigenous technology can do. We have made our own warships, stealth destroyers, stealth frigates, corvettes. We have now a nuclear ballistic missile submarine. A nuclear attack submarine has already been planned. 6 of them will be inducted. We are making our own aircraft carriers. An aircraft carrier is what is going to help us assert ourselves in the Indian Ocean as well as the South China Sea. We are very clear about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insight on this topic. This has been very awakening for us.
I may like to express our sincere thanks to Mr. Imran Khan and Mr. Yusuf Unjhawala for giving an excellent coverage on taking India to greater heights. We are